there is this sentiment, and it's said in different ways, or it's expressed in different ways, where people will argue against those of faith, and they'll say things like, how can we claim, in light of this, in view of how unimaginably gargantuan things are, how can we claim that we are special at all? We're nothing. We are less than dust. We're a piece of 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 a fraction of a piece of dust in the grand scale of things. I want to give everyone here and everyone watching this morning an answer to that challenge that comes up by a lot of skeptical voices. There really is a simple answer to that kind of rebuff and attack on the faith. And it has to do with a problem that we human beings have. We have this problem as humans where we are always in the business of dismissing the beauty of the small. So stay with me on this train of thought here for a few minutes, okay? If something is not big and shiny, people want to move on. It's almost connected to, or it is connected to, like, why seeing a celebrity on the street would bring a whole flock of people and attention, as opposed to an orphan or a homeless person. There's something about the glitz and the glamour and the bigness of things that we find value in and therefore put our attention in. Is this making sense? But here's more of like a scientific response, okay, to this issue. And this is something we address in our Awake course, the 7 facets. We're going to be releasing those soon as videos. But from the perspective of a cell, everybody say cell, a life cell. The human body is a universe in and of itself, okay? You can't imagine, just like you can't fathom like the universe, you cannot imagine the depth of smallness to get down to cells. We think we're so knowledgeable because we've used glass to help us see it. But it is mind-boggling how small it is. So your body is filled with galaxies of organs and these titanic fluids of blood and tissue and all kinds of things. And swirling in the midst of that is something incredibly tiny that it's basically invisible. It's a piece of a piece of a piece of a piece of dust and a fraction of that. And these things are called stem cells. So, stem cells, you might know, are the cells that build everything else, all the other cells in your body that go on to create your tissue, which creates your organs and your everything. And without your stem cells, you don't have a body. So your cells all come together by the trillions, okay, more than the stars in a galaxy, to form your body. And and you think of the fact that there's billions of people, these galaxies of cells right here on Earth. And then you look at each person. You look at the magnificence of a human being. You look at their life, their strengths, their accomplishments, their talents, the splendor and the glory of who they are. But when you look at them, you will not see this essentially invisible stuff that is the central reason for their existence, these stem cells. So the lesson here, the moral here, is that just because something is small does not mean that it's not infinitely valuable. Dr. Seuss taught us this, right? Right? Horton Hears a Who? Did you? We're on the same wavelength here. Yeah. Go from Dr. David to Dr. Seuss for a moment, okay? Horton Hears a Who. I don't know if you've read the story. They made a movie a few years ago. But you have this elephant, Horton, who has these big ears, and he's able to hear these sounds coming from this little flower. And on that flower is a world of these beings. And you have these other characters that want to destroy the flower. But Horton, who's the only one who hears it, and so the only one who believes it, is trying to stop them, to get them to realize that no, a person is a person, no matter how small. And that's the moral of Horton Hears a Who. Okay, so here's something else to consider, all right? The smallest size, known size in the universe is something called a Planck length. Everybody say Planck length. Wow, good job. Say it 3 times fast. Way to get out of it, Dan. Planck length. Okay, so it's essentially how they measure the very fabric of space-time itself. Okay? Physics and everything breaks down if you go even smaller. It's something like 10 to the negative 35 meters. And that number might not mean anything to you, but it is ridiculously, it's very, very small. Now, the largest thing we know is our observable universe. Our observable universe is 93 billion light years in diameter, approximately. Okay? Do you want to know what's right in the middle? So if you were to set up a scale between the Planck length and the observable universe, you know what's right in the middle? A cell. A human cell. So if the whole thing were a stage, center stage are the cells that make up our life and create us. Even like the cells that come together to form a zygote that becomes a fetus, that becomes an infant from the womb. So I believe that's part of the reason why God came to this earth as a zygote. Grew into a child. And all of that happened, think about this, outside of the big and showy world of man's governments and politics. Outside, he was born kind of on the outer reaches of the Roman Galactic Empire. Kind of like, he wasn't born, right, in the temple. He wasn't born in a palace. So I hear people talk about how, we're just this floating piece of rock in some backwater galaxy. We're not meaningless. But that's how God chose to come to the earth, kind of in the boonies, just like our Milky Way galaxy is. Because again, we only like the big and the shiny. And so we miss the value of the small and the seemingly insignificant. And then in our self-loathing and our sense of abandonment from God, skepticism is like an emotional personalization of that sense of abandonment and anger. And we take that and then we run with it and we say, nope, we're just insignificant dust floating in the cosmic sea. And they'll say things like, it's beautiful, blue dot, dust, it's wonderful, but it's still meaningless. But David looked up at the heavens in all of its glory and expanse, and he said, really, what is man that you take thought of him? And the Son of Man that you care for him? Because David realized, again, the meaning of his name, beloved, that we are the beloved of God. We are center stage in this, even if it appears that we're so weak and small and fragmented. The Maker has his heart set upon us. And that changes everything, okay?